Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee Football. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined daily by Jerry Hamilton and Bobby Burton. Tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking. We're going to get to your questions here in just a little bit. But first, guys, let's talk recruiting. Coaches are on the road. They're visiting kids. There's been new offers. A whole lot of stuff happening. Jerry, what's the latest?
Well, a couple of things as we kind of previewed over the weekend and on TexasFootball.com and here, the Texas staff was going to be moving east this week. It's a big they started out west that first couple of days they were on the road. Then they were in Texas. And Johnny Nansen hit a couple other places, Las Vegas, right, Hawaii. But now they're headed east. This is a big week for Texas. They're in Georgia. They're in Florida. There's Brunswick, Georgia. That's Hezzy Kent. He lists himself as a tight end. He's 6'6", 290. Okay, so we'll see what he plays. He has Texas in his top 5. But Texas is going after it right now on the recruiting trail. They are going to be in Florida at multiple stops. This is Xavier Lewis, the stud linebacker at Gainesville High in Georgia that's committed to USC currently. USC was also by yesterday. There's also a picture with him and his family set in on that visit with Deshard Choice. This is Nasir McCoy, the stud safety out of Buford, Georgia. There you see Johnny Nansen. The reason Nansen's in these photos is Texas spent a lot of time with Tyler Atkinson yesterday, the 5-star linebacker from Grayson. Like I received a text from the Atkinson circle that it was multiple hours. So they stopped by Grayson. Obviously, Grayson has multiple players, but then they had a nice visit with the Atkinson family and Tyler Atkinson, the 5-star linebacker. So Texas is going after it. Kenny Baker offered a 4-star, one of the top defensive linemen out of Blue Ridge High in Virginia. We talked about the 4 offers the prior week in North Carolina in the Charlotte area. Nationally, Texas is going wherever they have to go to find the top defensive line prospects. We'll see how many of those they're going to cast as wide a net as possible to try to get as many of these guys to campus as possible and see where the chips fall. So they're casting a wider net than last year, which I think is huge. And they're doing it earlier, obviously, because Kenny Baker is now been at Texas for a while, been able to evaluate a lot of these guys and can set out a plan for it. Last year, he got in late and they really couldn't. And then I think the rest of the week, watch out for Texas and Florida. They're going to meet with Diabell and his family. There's an in-home visit Thursday. But Elijah Gooden, one of the top D linemen in the country from Sarasota, I think Cardinal Mooney. I expect somebody from Texas down there. IMG. I know Kyle Flood and a couple others are going to go by there to see a couple offensive linemen. Kyle Flood's going to be in Clearwater to see Samuel Rosenborough, one of the top junior offensive linemen in the country. So the Texas staff is going after it right now. This is a big week in Georgia and Florida, and a little bit different areas. Chris Jackson stopped by Destrehan yesterday to see Jabari Mack, the 4-star plus receiver who was at Junior Day. He's going to go see Tristan Keys, the 5-star receiver in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Going to go see the A&M commit Aaron Gregory in Douglas County. We'll be down in Jacksonville to see Naeem Burrows, the speedster. So this Texas staff's going to see the best of the best. Guys they believe are best of the best, no matter where they're ranked this week in the Southeast, as the dead period begins February 3rd and runs through March 2nd. So this is the last week on the road for the Texas staff, and they're going to make the most of it.
Hey, Jerry, what's interesting, you mentioned Jabari Mack at Destrehan, Tristan Keys in Hattiesburg, Naeem Burrows at Jacksonville. Chris Jackson's basically just taking I-10 and going east. That's exactly what that looks like to me. Hey, one of the reasons I asked Blake behind the scenes to bring this picture back up, that's Johnny Nansen, Deshard Choice, and Kenny Baker in that picture. The other person there is Chris Gilbert, right, Jerry? Yeah. This is something that Texas is doing right now. Chris Gilbert's been on the road recruiting, and Chris Gilbert has been a special assistant to Coach Steve Sarkisian for a couple of years. He's a longtime high school coach. For those unaware, he used to be a head coach at Lancaster. He's from South Oak Cliff. He was absolutely key last year in Justice Terry's recruitment for Texas. And so Texas is putting him on the road with its normal assistants and having some success there. I want to bring that up because we try to take you a little bit behind the scenes. Chris Gilbert right now is playing a big role
Yeah.
in Texas's recruiting success, alongside other guys off the field like Brandon Harris, who a lot of people have heard of, the general manager, like John Michael Jones, director of player personnel. But those guys all getting out there working hard together right now for the Longhorns.
That's right. And Jerry, I know you also had some film that you wanted me to bring up here.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and bring it up.
So Rosenboro's interesting. He is one of the top offensive tackle prospects in the country. He's at Clearwater, Florida. I can't wait to go see him in a few weeks, which I will be. Who doesn't want to go to Clearwater? Well, after it warms up. You don't want to go when it's cold. But Samuel Rosenboro has been on campus once before for a game this year. And why he became interesting, besides being one of the top offensive line tackle prospects in the country, is his mom relocated to Austin for work recently. And he's staying there to finish his high school career with his teammates, his friends, and all that. But there is now this recruitment becomes a real possibility for Texas. So we'll see what happens. He's been on campus once. Obviously, he goes to Austin to see his mom. She works in Austin, but he wanted to finish out his high school career in Clearwater with his friends and all the kids he grew up with, his coaching staff, and that's what he's going to do. But just another offensive lineman, one of the best in the country, that is definitely on the table for the Horns, along with Samuel, the out-of-state guy, Samuel Utu, who I think Texas is in a pretty good spot with, in Orange Lutheran in Orange, California. Then Cody Green, the Oregon commitment, the right tackle. But I wrote an article on Texas Football this morning kind of detailing the possibilities for this offensive line class, and it's pretty elite with the guys that Texas is in on and is expected to stay in on and be in on all the way to the wire.
You know what I love about this, Jerry? We spent the first 5-10 minutes of this show talking about offensive and defensive line.
Yeah.
That's a good sign for the future of the program. We're not. I know quarterbacks, wide receivers, DBs. They get all the love and attention. But Texas spending some time on the road right now, thinking about offensive and defensive line, and that's ultimately where the differences in elite teams end up. And so excited about that as well.
Hey, while we're talking about coaches on the road, we have a super chat here that I actually am going to get to from Kelly. Thank you, Kelly, for the super chat. Kelly says, I was happy to see Coach Choice visit with Jet Walker in Georgetown. Not sure the level of interest, but can you guys shed any light on that?
Yeah, so there's two running backs that have offers right now, and that's really the thing to know is it's Javian Osborne and it's KJ Edwards in-state, two running backs in-state that have offers. So, look, and there's interest in guys, but until an offer's made, it kind of is what it is. Javian Osborne and KJ Edwards. Javian Osborne's received the most attention from the Texas staff to this point. And those are the two guys that have offers. Choice stopped by and saw several guys. Isaiah Leap at Lancaster. He was at junior day. Texas did not offer. Really good player. There's Christian Rhodes, who Texas is very interested in, as well at Richardson Lake Highlands, but he hasn't been offered yet either. So the question is, and I think this is something to watch. Tashard Choice will go see Amari Latimer probably today and Tyrone Sandy Creek. He's a third guy with an offer that's really very high on Texas. I think Texas, Miami, Tennessee, Auburn, maybe Michigan are your five there. But what kind of happens with him, I think, will lead to where a next potential offer goes, because Osborne and KJ Edwards are different backs than Amari Latimer is. So what happens with Amari Latimer? I don't see Texas missing out. Texas will get one or two of Osborne or Edwards at this point. I'd be shocked if they don't. But it is recruiting, by the way, guys. So what happens with Amari Latimer, and where does that take Texas if Amari Latimer were to go a different direction? I think that's kind of what the fall in running back recruiting right now.
Jet Walker, really good player for Georgetown. Texas did offer a Georgetown product over at Eastview. The linebacker Treason Ariakwu, I believe is how you say his last name, Jerry. So they are doing some stuff in Central Texas right now. Pflugerville Weiss, the wide receiver, the 27 player, Trey Moore got offered on Saturday. But Jet Walker, one of the Central Texas's best, but right now not in line for an offer at Texas. No, and I qualify that right now.
I am going to follow up on a question on real quick on running back recruiting. Corey J, did Texas offer the running back from Frisco Lone Star? Texas has not, but Davian Gross, I believe, is who you're referencing. He works out with margin hooks. He is leaning to being a wide receiver at the next level. So I think that's something to know with Davian Gross, but Texas has not recruited him heavily. Somebody's asking,
isn't he the son of Cliff Gross that played at A&M also, Jerry?
I'm not sure on that.
I think he is, yeah.
But Colin Stevens, Austin J3, one of the most recent misevaluations. And look, there's always going to be guys like that. I mean, there's always going to be guys like that. Look, no big schools offered him at the end of the day. Somebody asked, is AJ going to Notre Dame? AJ Tutelli. I'm waiting to hear back on that, whether he's actually going to visit Texas or not. Most people think he's going to end up at USC. That's the linebacker from Las Vegas who Texas offered a couple of weeks ago that they had a visit scheduled with. Then he ended up going at UNLV last weekend. But the thought on the West Coast is he's probably going to end up at USC. We'll see, though.
All right, good stuff. Well, Jerry, if you are ready, I'm going to let you tell everyone out there. We'll get it out the gate as quick as possible. Joy Mode. Tell us about it.
Well, yes. I mean, why wouldn't you? This is like Joy Mode. Guys, say goodbye to weak erections with Joy Mode Sexual Performance Booster. This all-natural supplement is designed to enhance blood flow, giving you a firmer, more reliable erection. But Joy Mode isn't just about better sex. Daily use supports healthier blood vessels, boosts heart health, and enhances your athletic performance. Aren't we all out for that? Expertly formulated and backed by science, is proven to improve erectile function by 50% in just 2 months, 60 days. Simply mix with a pack of water and feel the effects within 45 minutes. Take control with Joy Mode. Get a boost anytime, anywhere, and never miss a beat. Period. Joy Mode features just 4 simple proven ingredients, unlike prescription options that involve doctor visits and managing refills, those bottles everywhere you can't keep up with. Who wants that? Joy Mode provides a straightforward, effective solution. Join the over 200,000 men who trust Joy Mode to boost their performance without side effects. Start a subscription and save up to 30%. Keep your performance at its best without any interruptions. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, and who isn't, try joymode.com and use on Texas all caps for checkout for 20% off single purchases and 30% off subscription orders. And this is very special. A&M basketball fans after Saturday, this is for you. Oklahoma football fans, period, this is for you. But Texas fans, if OU fans start ordering this, they're probably going to sell out. So you better get yours now.
Yep, I went there. I knew. I just had a feeling he was going to say A&M, so I went there.
Yeah. If Oklahoma fans start ordering it, I mean, Joy Mode's going to be gone. So you better get yours now. That's all I got to say. By the way, Oklahoma fans, this does not guarantee you get a defensive coordinator. By the way. Somebody asked with Tyler Atkinson at Junior Day. He was not, but Texas spent about multiple hours there with him yesterday. Oh yeah, let's look at the updated junior film of the guy that I think is just one hell of a linebacker prospect. Tyler Atkinson is one of the most productive players. He's also one of the most highly ranked players. This is against Carrollton in the state championship. That's Juju Lewis, the quarterback. That's the 5-star quarterback. Then they had like 15 D1 kids on that team. Here's getting your helmet knocked off to start the season. This is a guy I think is just tremendous. I saw him in person this year. Look, there's some things being said about him that I'm just going to say are absolutely wrong right now. Finished product physically. Whoever's saying that, you're wrong. Stop your comments on that. He's not. Is he tapped out? Nope, you're wrong. He's not. This guy's a tremendous football player, tremendous linebacker. Everybody in the country wants him. And you know how you know when you're really good? Marcus Freeman's knocking down your door. Ohio State's knocking down your door. Texas sends multiple coaches. Kirby Smart, you had to get him on campus. Auburn, Tennessee, everybody. This guy, he's got long arms. If you look at his frame there, you see he's not a finished product. He can add 15, 20 pounds. He'll end up being 6'2", 6'2" and change, 235. with a long wingspan and unbelievable closing speed. I saw ball skills when I was there. This guy is a stud.
Good stuff, Jerry. That's the one that Texas had all the players, all the coaches at yesterday, right?
Yeah, and there's another linebacker. I think the guy that just picked up the ball, there's Anthony Davis, who Texas also has offered, and they talked to him at Grayson yesterday as well. Look at the closing speed. Oof. But this guy's an elite linebacker prospect. Let's see. Oh, Jesse 013. I'm going to answer this because it's kind of funny because I think it's you're a couple of months away. When is Millway going to go all out and pull out the camcorder to film Gunnar Rivers, the 27 quarterback, Gunnar Rivers in Fairhope, Alabama, son of Philip Rivers? I think that's coming this spring, guys. I look at whether an offer's been made or going to be made whenever the Rivers want to make that publicly or when it happens, it happens. But Texas, assuming Philip Rivers sees a path and Texas is under serious consideration, Texas will offer Gunnar Rivers. That's a done deal. In fact, I could see him ended up being the top 27 quarterback in the country.
Hey, Jerry, Longhorns were back at it yesterday on the practice field. Really just winter workouts getting started. Texas football gave us a few pics here of the guys working out yesterday morning. But that's officially the beginning of winter workouts until spring practice begins. We think spring practice is going to begin around mid-March, just before spring break. But they have yet to announce it. But we will keep you guys in line. Guys like Michael Taff out there yesterday working out. Arch Manning had a big photo leading the group as the new leader of the team. We'll see how all this goes over the next 24, 25 days as they work through winter workouts prior to spring ball commencing.
And in other news, or in other sports, I guess I should say, we need to talk about Texas women's basketball back in the top 5, guys, with their AP ranking. And then some other big news for them here as Aaliyah Crump, their newest signee, is a McDonald's All-American selection. Jerry, I know you're a big fan of Aaliyah Crump, and I'm sure this is going to lead to some Aaliyah Chavez questions as well we'll talk about. But what do you like about Crump?
Yeah, she's a 6'1" guard, 6'5", 6'1" guard, first of all. She can shoot the basketball. She can shoot it off the bounce. She can shoot it off the catch. I think she's got multiple layers to her offensive game. She's a 3-level scorer, potentially at the next level. I think she will be. But I think she fits a real need. I thought Jordan Lee was a big recruit last year for the women's team. She's the best shooter on this team. I think Aaliyah Crump would add another one of those pieces. I'm not saying she's going to shoot the 3 as well as Jordan Lee. I think will as her career moves along. I think Jordan Lee could be a high 30s, 40% three-point shooter when she's taking a lot of attempts long-term. But Aaliyah Crump, I think, is a really versatile, well-rounded 6'1" guard, 6'5", 6'1" guard that is going to be able to score from all 3 levels. I think she's a tremendous player, ranked top 10 in the country. Obviously, Aaliyah Chavez is in this game as well, number 1 ranked player in the country. She'll make her decision this spring after her high school season. And we still believe that's the 3 schools, Texas, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma. So
correct. With UCLA having
UCLA has an outside shot because it's they wear the jump man. So right, there's some big NIL things in that recruitment as well. On the boys' side, 2 unsigned committed guys in the McDonald's game are the 2 top targets from Texas remaining on the boys' side. That's Nate Ament, who made an official visit before the season, 6'9", future top 10 pick. He's really good small forward, combo forward. And then Koa Pete, who Texas has been recruiting for years out of Arizona. Obviously, his brother Andrews Pete was a 5-star offensive line prospect that signed with Stanford, and Texas had a shot at him back in the day. But Koa Pete, it feels like Arizona State, Texas, and maybe one other or the 3 for him. We'll have to see how it all works out.
Women play Thursday night at 8. They host Missouri. The men tomorrow night, Jerry, go to Oxford and play Chris Beard's Ole Miss team. 8 o'clock tip on that one tomorrow. This Ole Miss clearly the favorite in this game. This has got to be a difficult one for Rodney Terry and for Chris Del Conte and even for Chris Beard to go into Oxford and see the former head coach of the Longhorns, who lost his job in a very unfortunate way, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's a huge game because look, for a multitude of reasons. And I asked the chat before. I'm willing to do a watch with us and just hang out and answer football recruiting questions and stuff tomorrow night. You guys just let me know what you want to do on that. Game starts at 8. We have regular Longhorn live stream from like 7:10 to whatever 8:30 it is, so it'll lead into the game. I'm willing to jump in, stay in there, just have fun talking football, recruiting, and while we all watch Chris Beard versus Texas, if you guys want to do that, y'all just let me know.
Good stuff. All right. Well, let's get to some more questions here, guys. We have a super chat, actually, from Juan Garza. Thank you, Juan. What happened to Blue pulling out of the East-West Shrine game? Character issues or bad advice, or neither?
I don't think it's either. Look, he's not the only one. Vernon Broughton not going to the Senior Bowl. Other guys opting out of these postseason all-star games. Texas played 16 games. I mean, that's a lot of wear and tear on your body. 4 more, or at least 3 more than 95% of the teams in played this year. I think that's all it's about right now at this point, guys. They literally just need to want to get their bodies healthy so that they can do the best they can at the combine. They've probably got enough film right now from the first 16 game season this year. It's a little bit different than a 12-game season where, frankly, you may have been still improving game 12. If you're still improving at game 16, it's a little different. I feel like that's not a big deal at all, Juan, for him to miss on those games.
And then we have this super chat, guys, that y'all actually missed yesterday evening. So I wanted to make sure that we get Jose his super chat here. He says, with 26 being a down year in state for 5 stars, how important are the inroads the staff has made in other states? And what's the most loaded position out of state?
So I want to start with this. The rankings are still early. I do want to say that because, look, we're January 28th. There's going to be 2 more rankings updates for those that follow all that that are going to come from a national perspective later this spring and into the summer. So the rankings are very far from being done. In fact, the earlier they're done, the more corners the industry gets backed in when they want to move a guy from 5-star to 4-star and vice versa. So the rankings are not even close to being complete. I think Texas is loaded every year, not at every position, but John Turntime's a 5-star prospect for me. So
Jamion Winfield.
Jamion Winfield is not a highly ranked guy now. Watch him end up in the top 35, if not a potential 5-star. So there's going to be guys that are going to creep up there and end up being ranked really highly that maybe aren't right now on some level. And one of the things that happens in the recruiting rankings too is if there's a lot of really good guys at a position in the state, they tend to get slotted down sometimes because you don't want to have too many. Like say if there's really good offensive line class, you don't want to have too many guys ranked too high at the same position in the same state. So there's a lot of things that play in the rankings. But to that question, can you bring that back up, Blake, real quick? So look, Texas just we're going to recruit nationally, and you're seeing if there's a interior D line is not strong in Texas. That doesn't mean some guys aren't going to end up being good players, So I just want to put that out there. But it may not be as strong as some other years. So what's going to happen is Texas has to go find the best D lineman wherever they can. And the nationally for defensive linemen, interior D linemen, it's not a great year compared to some other years. So what Texas is having to do is they're going into North Carolina. They just offered the kid in Virginia yesterday. He's from Sweden who came to the States. So Texas, if they're going to truly go after the best of the best in their minds on defensive line, it may take them outside some areas you're going to see Texas regularly recruit. Texas is still going to spend the majority of their time, Bobby, in Texas, east on I-10 to Florida, up into Georgia. That's where the majority of their time is going to be spent. And in California, and Johnny Nansen is going to recruit Las Vegas. There's not a ton of schools you have to go to in Vegas. You have to be on top of the guys in Vegas. And SoCal in California. Those are going to be your areas. But if there's a really good group of players nationally that takes you to different spots, Texas is going to do that. And it's defensive line this year. So that's why I think you're seeing North Carolina. That's why I think you're seeing Virginia, a kid in Virginia, get an offer. Again, a kid that moved to the States. And so he's at Blue Ridge School there. So at one of those schools where a kid may come that comes from another country to the States to play football. So that's kind of where things are at with recruiting. But 90% of Texas time is going to be California, a little bit in Arizona, a little bit in Las Vegas, then Texas, east along I-10 up into Georgia. That's where the majority of the time is going to be, in Florida too.
And our next super chat, fellas, comes from Jack. Thank you, Jack. As always, I've heard numerous people say that we need a tush push next year. Would we consider Trey Owens? Don't risk Arch.
Look, I mean, Trey Owens does not have the lower body. I think it would work better with Arch. I got to be honest. I think that would be the guy to use. So I don't know if that's the case, Jack. You gotta, I don't think you're risking much on a typical push. I mean, Jalen Hurts is a little bit of a freak athlete, or a lot of bit of freak athlete, but I just don't think you're risking that much with Arch on a quarterback sneak. Now, in the run game, you might be, as witnessed by the Ohio State game, where he got knocked silly a little bit on that play. But I think they'll be fine with Arch at quarterback. This is funny. Go Birds, Kansas City Chiefs, a bunch of people chiming in. I've got to tell you all, I've got a little bit of a conundrum at my house. So my wife's family is from Kansas City. And so they are Chiefs fans through and through. My wife's dad, my father-in-law, had season tickets to the Chiefs back in the day. That's how big a fan he is. And then my daughter is in school right now up in Philadelphia, and she calls me every day and says, "Go Birds." So I am officially, I'm Switzerland right now. No Chiefs, no Eagles for me. I'm Switzerland. Jerry and Blake, y'all can answer this question from Sarah McCoy if you so please.
I'm going to get the easy answer. I don't really care. I'm not going to watch.
You're not going to watch the Super Bowl?
Nah.
Jerry Hamilton, you got to be kidding me.
Nah.
Blake, help me here.
Go ahead, Blake.
You're going to watch the Super Bowl even for the ad?
I will watch it. I don't have a vested interest in it. I'm not a big NFL guy at all. I will watch it. I know my wife will be rooting for the Chiefs because Taylor Swift. But I don't. I mean, I'd like to see somebody win it besides the Chiefs. So I guess the Eagles is who I'll go for. But I'm kind of like Jerry. I mean, I will watch. So I guess I'm not like Jerry, but I don't have a vested interest in it.
Yeah. So I'm not the guy.
I want to say this. I'm going to say this real quick. I hope Xavier Worthy scores a touchdown.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I want to see that happen. But beyond that, I'm going down the middle on this one.
Look, I'm not a guy that feels like I have to watch a Super Bowl. I've watched maybe 2 Super Bowls in the last 15 years. Honestly, I just don't. Yeah, it's just not. It's not something that I have to make my annual thing just for no reason. So yeah, I'm not a big guy. I mean, like on that. So now I will say the 2 of the Super Bowls I did watch. It was when I lived in Florida. It was at Tiger Woods Sports Bar. He had a big Super Bowl party. That was fun.
Jerry, you're something else, man.
That was fun.
You never know which way Jerry Hamilton's going to fall.
That was
like it's going to be either really super involved or just doesn't care. That's the Jerry Hamilton MO. Hey, I wanted to add something else to this. Charles Omenihu on that team as well for the Chiefs. Also for the Eagles, Moro Ojomo will be playing the Super Bowl. Something that somebody's mentioning, Jalen Hurts in the chat. He's from Channelview High School. And some people are saying, well, why didn't he go to Texas? All this other stuff. The only reason that is Texas and Jalen Hurts, the Longhorns have no one to blame but themselves for why he didn't go to Texas. I think that Jalen Hurts probably would have went to Texas had Texas recruited him hard. His dad was a head coach there at Channelview. like the Longhorns, all of that stuff. But Texas did not go on him at quarterback, and that's one of the reasons why Texas had the issues they had for so many years. They did not get quarterback right until way too late in this.
By the way, I'm going to follow up on that. I was by Channelview High School 2 or 3 years ago. They had a kid I wanted to take a look at to see if he was going to blow up and become a high-level kid. And I can confirm that he would have gone to Texas. By the way, how good was Jalen Hurts in high school? Bobby and I love Jalen Hurts in high school, but this is the best way I can describe how good of a player Jalen Hurts was in high school. They beat North Shore and won the district championship at Channelview, and they'll never do it again, and they haven't done it since.
That's exactly what we said, Jerry. It's like you and I covered high school football for how many years, especially in the city of Houston. We both grew up there. Channelview doesn't have a chance against North Shore ever. And then all of a sudden, the team, the minute Jalen Hurts starts at quarterback, they go from like 1-10 or 0-11 to making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Beating like Port Arthur Memorial. I mean, are you kidding me? That's when we knew he was special. And we both talked to Texas. I know that separately we both. Oh well, I think it was Zach Gentry or somebody I can't even remember who it was. But I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to take a flyer on this guy and treat him like he's special. But they didn't. He went to Alabama, ended up transferring to OU. That was boy. Well, ended up starting in the national championship game the very next year.
The crazy thing about that, so I went to watch the regional track meet, and Austin Deculus, which was a tremendous offensive line prospect out at Cy-Fair at the time, went to LSU and's in the NFL. I went out to watch him throw the shot in discus in a regional track meet. And Jalen Hurts was throwing the shot put in the regional meet. And I remember asking Jalen, I was like, dude, why are you doing this? So I can get my team points. And I mean, he was throwing it dang near 50 feet in high school. So Parthbrook, yes, he was an animal, an ultimate competitor, ultimate team guy. This is a great question. This is easy for me. It's Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was the biggest miss, not offer, and you should add JT Barrett as your fifth to that. But it was Andrew Luck, because the way it was set up, you could have gone from Vince to Colt to Andrew Luck. And the not offer Andrew Luck because of a junior in the state of Texas was one of the most asinine things I've ever seen in quarterback recruiting. Because I think Andrew Luck would have gone to Texas.
How many different ways they didn't really push for Andrew Luck. RG3, they thought he was a wide receiver. Johnny Manziel.
To be fair, a lot of people didn't recruit RG3 as a quarterback.
Yeah, well,
to be fair,
they were wrong.
Right.
Johnny Manziel as a DB. Jalen Hurts not pushed. I just got a note from Jeff Howe. Jeff Howe's listening in to us. He said that Sean Watson had several QBs in camp and offered Shane Buechele in that class. And therein lies the problem. I'm going to say this. Now, Shane Buechele, really good player. Okay. Not a great player, but a good player. Do you take a great athlete at quarterback that can grow into the position, or do you take a more finished product coming out? And too often, college coaches don't bet on themselves a little bit to build that player up. I mean, Jalen Hurts is still not the perfect quarterback. This is going to be his second Super Bowl, though, because he is such a freak athlete and a good quarterback. I just unbelievable to me. And the thing about Robert Griffin that bothers me, they had the offensive style to go back and use him with that zone read. Greg Davis was so adept.
JT Barrett the same.
Yeah, and just JT Barrett's not in the same category for me as RG3, but JT Barrett should have been taken over Tyrone Swoops is the reality.
Okay, guys.
To that answer, though, it's Andrew Luck. Number one pick in the draft. I mean, look, he was that would have kept you rolling right through.
There would have been no drop.
To
There
not
would have
offer Andrew,
would
to
have
not
gone
offer
5-7 in
Andrew
2010.
unbelievable.
I agree with you.
Well, Bobby, I know you got a big portal note that we need to talk about here in just a moment. But first, I'm going to let everyone know about Cure Hydration. Cure is a plant-based hydrating electrolyte drink mix with no added sugar. It's a natural, delicious, and convenient way to keep you and your whole family hydrated, but without the artificial stuff. Cure is made with clean ingredients. That means zero added sugar, no preservatives, no artificial flavors. It also tastes great and comes in a variety of flavors. I love their lime one. My wife, she drinks the watermelon one. I like the lemonade one as well. They got a multitude of flavors. You'll find something that you like. And I drink it every single morning to start my day. It also came in clutch last week when my kids had the flu, kept them hydrated with Cure. And it's convenient too. You can take it with you anywhere. Each bag contains 14 of these little packets right here that you just dump into a bottle of water, shake it up, and you're ready to go. And guys, hydration goes beyond just drinking water. It's about replenishing the electrolytes we lose through sweat, sleep, alcohol, daily activities, whatever it may be. Water alone isn't enough to do the job. That's why you need to try Cure, the electrolyte drink mix that tastes as amazing as it makes you feel. And for OTF listeners, Cure is offering 20% off your first order. Stay hydrated and feel your best by visiting curehydration.com/ontexas and use promo code ONTEXAS at checkout. That's curehydration.com/ONTEXAS using promo code ONTEXAS for 20% off your first order. All right, Bobby. Well, as I said this morning on Texas Football, you had a portal note about Hero Canoe I was going to let you talk about.
Yeah, the 6'5", 305-pound defensive tackle that transferred out of Ohio State following the national championship game. He took a visit to Texas, as we've reported over the weekend. He then went immediately to Florida. I'm being told that he is now on his way or already at Georgia. So a lot of foot traffic for a 6'5", 305-pound defensive tackle. Texas, Florida, and Georgia. We'll see where he ends up. I'm also being told, and this is important, Jerry and Blake, that he will be announcing his decision or making his decision most likely on Wednesday or Thursday of this week. That's tomorrow or Thursday. Texas already has 2 transfer portal defensive tackles at this point. They want 4. They are losing 6 defensive tackles, I believe it is, or 7 total. The top 4 in the rotation are out. Alex January is set to move into that rotation, but beyond that, it's just young freshmen or people who haven't played at all. We'll see exactly what happens here with Hero Canoe, but going to Florida and Georgia outside of Texas, we'll see. A&M had thought they were going to get him on campus before he made a decision. That does not look likely, even though he has a prior relationship somewhat from recruiting with Mike Elko. So I think it's going to come down to Texas, Florida, and Georgia for Hero Canoe at this point.
Yeah, so I'll say this. I think Texas is a legit shot here. The interesting thing to tie into this is, and I mentioned this yesterday, and I mentioned on TexasFootball.com in a discussion we were having, is so he went to Rancho Santa Margarita, same school J.J. Hahn, the kid that signed with Georgia in the 25 class, both from Germany, the same person that helps those kids get to the States, the top football prospects in Germany. They go to that same school, and PK's recruited that school for years while at Washington, so he has a connection on that staff. What the recruitment of J.J. Hahn did, even though he went to Georgia and Texas never really made ground there, what that recruitment did was give Kenny Baker a chance to build a relationship with that person that gets the top D-line prospects from Germany to the States, or top prospects from Germany to the States. So Kenny Baker also has a little bit of a relationship there. So if Hero Canoe happened to go Texas' way, I think Texas has those connections too. Georgia has the same connections, obviously, but Texas has a couple of strong connections there now, and I do think that's really important in this recruitment with Hero Canoe now, because that person that helps the guys get to the States that are going to be the major college players, especially those D linemen, he now has a relationship with Kenny Baker for the first time. So he knows how Kenny Baker could help develop Hero Kanu, because Kanu's a 2-year guy.
Yeah.
You get him for 2 years. He's a redshirt sophomore. So that's the key. He's not a 1-year guy. He's going to be a 2-year player.
All right, let's take more questions here. We'll start with Derek. He says, is Ryan Niblett staying at running back?
I believe so. And I think they're going to try to see if they can't use him in a role akin to Keelan Robinson and Jaden Blue at some level as a guy out of the backfield. I don't think he's moving back to receiver at this point.
And then our next question here comes from Drew, and this may be a hard one to answer, but we'll see what y'all got. He says, how's KJ Lacey doing since arriving on campus? Have you guys heard anything? Was he there helping out for Junior Day? Thanks,
He was. Yeah, KJ was there. I saw him on Saturday. A lot of those guys went to the basketball game. They were part of Junior Day. But yeah, look, the one thing about KJ that's going to start coming out, I think, he's a better athlete than people give him credit for. When it's testing time, he's going to test. His vertical is going to be one of the highest in the program. I'm just here to tell you, if for those that haven't seen, there was an Instagram video that somebody posted, one of his friends posted of him dunking the basketball in slides, where he cocked the thing back and looked like he had a 42-inch vertical. And obviously, he was a really good point guard basketball player before he decided on quarterback. One of the things that's going to come out, though, is he's a much better athlete than people think. It's just because he plays in the pocket and plays the quarterback position the right way and played in a system that was pass first, second, third, and he wasn't used in a lot of QB run game stuff, and not that Sark will either. But I'm just here to tell you he's a better athlete than he's given credit for. I hear he's doing well.
He dunked in slides. What are you supposed to say to that? Like mere humans like myself.
And he just
I'm still just trying to dunk.
He just didn't dunk. He cocked the thing way behind his head. And I mean, I'll see if I can find it and send it to Blake while somebody's answering a question here.
I'd like to. Blake, you ever dunked a basketball?
Yeah.
Not including an 8-foot rim, Blake, by the way.
Yeah, I can just murder my son's 4-foot basketball goal, but not a regulation size. No, not at all.
I wasn't going to say that, but I was going to say Blake and a Nerf goal. Let's see.
A Nerf goal.
Yeah, the mini hoop I got down. Oh, man. All right, we got another super chat here. Jackson S says, I was moving, and thank you, Jackson. I was moving into Texas when Luck retired. Awful start to college. I was devastated, and we still haven't recovered. He says he's a Colts fan.
Well, I don't know that Anthony Richardson's your answer either, Jackson S. Unfortunately, I got to be honest. Although Sam Ellinger's still picking up a nice paycheck with the Colts right now. Somebody mentioned that in the chat, and I agree with him completely. What would y'all? I just an offhand idea here, Jerry. What would you do with the number 1 overall pick right now? Would you take Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, or would you go with a Travis Hunter or an Abdul Carter? I would, even if I needed a quarterback badly, the only one I think I might take is Cam Ward as a franchise quarterback. I don't know that Shadur Sanders is that answer. What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. A lot of it's need, but I'm not sure I'm on board with either quarterbacks going number 1. I like Abdul Carter a lot. I like Abdul Carter a lot as a guy that out of this draft that I think could be a special player. Look, I mean, where's Travis Hunter in that discussion?
They're just worried that he wants to play both positions and he can't do it.
You're not. Yeah, that's odd.
I don't know what to say. I would go. I think I would go Ward if I were to choose a quarterback at 1 overall. But I don't necessarily think I would choose a quarterback 1 overall right now, because I don't think he's going to be. I don't think that quarterback gets you, whoever it is, whether it's Jackson Dart or Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward. I don't think that quarterback's getting you to the Super Bowl ever. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, Cam Ward's going to have to, for me, he's going to have to change the way he plays a little
right.
bit. He's going to have to play in the pocket a little more consistently, because Look, he has a highest fumble rate of any quarterback in college football, I believe, of the really good ones. He's a little lax with the football, puts himself in a lot of bad positions outside the pocket with the ball. I think that that's going to be a key for him is how long is it going to take him to kind of work through the things he's going to have to change in terms of what creates his turnovers, because the turnovers that he's had in college they don't translate well to the NFL for me. And it's the not hanging in the pocket long enough. It's not playing in the pocket. Look, Caleb Williams had to work on that. That's something with Caleb Williams. That's part of development. But the question is, how long is it going to take him?
Yeah.
Those are some catastrophic turnovers in the NFL.
All right. Our next question here, if I can get this mouse to cooperate, is going to be from Champ Bailey 3. He says, Bobby and Jerry, would y'all say that this 26 class may not be top heavy like previous years, but the depth of talent is a lot throughout the class?
If you're talking in Texas, I do agree with that. I think the depth in Texas is tremendous in this class. I'm like offensive line wise, the story I posted on TexasFootball.com this morning about the offensive line class, why I think it'll end up being an elite offensive line class for Texas. That's just the guys Texas has real interest in. There is a lot of depth in offensive line in this state in 2026. Tremendous depth at wide receiver and DB. I think linebackers actually deep in Texas this year, and that hasn't been the case in some years. Running back, I think, has really good depth in Texas as well. So I do think depth in power 4 numbers or power 4 level players, because there's so much depth. Some of those guys may not even go power 4 because of the portal. But I do think there's great depth in this 26 class in Texas, like a lot of guys who are legitimate power 4 level prospects. Now, again, they may not all go there because of the portal. They may have to start in the mid and work their way up, which is kind of what we are nowadays. But the depth in Texas is tremendous this year at multiple positions.
The problem you have, like you had a Decorian Moore last year in the state. Do you have one of those this year at that position? Maybe not, right? Is there a elite quarterback in the state this year? Or, I mean, that I don't know. I feel like you're probably right, Jerry, about the depth. I'd like to see how more of this spring evaluation period really shakes out, because the one thing that I agree with, on the surface, you can make premature judgments on talent in the state of Texas. I've seen it too often. For example, right now we think Jamion Winfield and maybe the guy at South Oak Cliff at defensive tackle. Well, let's wait and see what happens in the spring. And maybe a couple other guys shake loose at defensive tackle, right?
Yeah.
And I think you could be too early in making judgments like that.
I agree. And here's a big reason why I agree with this. And I agree with this in recruiting in general now. Making a lot of decisions before track season in Texas is a mistake.
Absolutely.
I mean, look, people can say what they want about Art Briles. They did the best job of recruiting through track that I've ever seen in Texas. Like they made a lot of decisions based on, like, think about just what happens if you take too many guys early and then the kid goes out and he's a later developer. He gets after it in off season, cuts his 100-meter time from 10.8 to 10.6. He looks like a totally different player at that point than when you go see him in the spring, because these guys it's not, we jokingly say it's not Atwater instant player. These guys develop on their own timelines within their frames, their age, all that to start before they start developing as a football player. But I'm really, really big on track season in your track states and making sure you're fully evaluating all those guys. Even though Texas knew and the schools knew that Nick Townsend was an elite prospect, when he went out and ran 10.92 fully automatic time at 238 pounds last year in April, that changed his recruitment nationally in a big way. They already knew he was a good player. But when a 235-pound guy breaks 11 in the 100 meters, that changes the game for these kids. And that's why I'm big on track season, letting track season get going and starting to make evaluations from football to track back to spring football before you really start making final decisions on guys. Because look, Bobby, there's going to be somebody that pops up and runs 10-5 in this state or 10-4 in this state that's not on Texas radar right now.
That may play corner. That may play corner, Jerry. That's my – yes. I didn't think so much about track as I was just saying all of spring coming through, and whether that includes camps or not in early May, June. But I'm a big believer in guys that will pop up on the radar later. And it often happens, and I will say this, happens a lot in East Texas, by the way, where they're not the schools aren't as picked over by, 50 colleges coming through every time.
Hey, Blake, pull up Camden Capehart's huddle while we're talking. Okay? This is a kid, and I'm not saying he's a Texas offer kid. But there's a kid, it's Whitesboro, right?
Winsboro.
Okay, where the really good basketball player came from, girls basketball player from years ago. I can't remember her name. She was tremendous. But there's a kid at Winsboro who is probably going to run in the 10-3s this year. He's committed to Mississippi State, of course, kind of falls in line. Art Browse did a really good job early. So this is a kid named Camden Capehart, right? Wide receiver. Okay, this kid is stupid fast. He is explosive fast, and he's at a small school that doesn't produce D1 players. Okay, he's committed to Mississippi State, but once he I think he ran 10.49 in the 100 meters last year, and he's not a big kid, 5'9". He's going to be about 170, 172 pounds, but this kid can flat out smoke it running on the track, and he shows ball skills on junior tape. This kid's recruitment, if he runs into 10-3s, is going to be a lot different. I think Oklahoma State recently offered him.
Florida State
kid can absolutely run.
Yeah. Jeff Levy is right up that tree too, right? Art Brow's son-in-law. He's going to focus on speed. They took Brennan Thompson out of the portal too, by the way. Mississippi State did. They focus on, pressuring teams with speed downfield. We'll see if he's big enough for Texas, because that would be the only.
You think this kid can't run? Holy heck. And that's my point. We're not saying this for Texas. We're just saying in general, a kid like this, his recruitment's going to change this spring when he runs in the 10-3s. And it doesn't mean it's Texas, but I'm just saying in general. This track is big. Track is big with these kids. I think this kid may be this kid's a better receiver than Brennan Thompson. He's got receiver skills.
Plays in a tougher area too, by the way. Against more high-end athletes. Not necessarily tougher area, just higher-end athletes.
All right. Let's see.
What I would do for speed like that. I would not be talking in front of a camera had I had speed like that, Jerry Hamilton. Yeah. I'd be collecting my NFL pension. Surely.
I can't control my allergies right now.
Well, I'll give you a second here because we're going to talk the NFL draft here momentarily. But first, Jerry, you and I need to do a couple of ad reads, and I will let you start with Public Rec.
My favorite pants. Nothing against look, the Lululemon have some good pants, all these pants, but these Public Recs now, these are great pants. Let me just tell you something right now. Let's be real, guys. Wearing uncomfortable clothes just isn't worth it anymore. Why settle for stiff, restricting fabric when you can have something that looks sharp and feels as comfy as your favorite sweats? This year, you make the switch to Public Rec, where comfort rules. Public Rec isn't just about pants. It's about making sure you stay comfortable no matter what your day throws at you. They have so many great style options that are perfect for just hanging around the house, drinking beers on the golf course, or even you need to impress the boss in the office. You can do that too. Whatever pants you choose, you'll be blown away with how comfortable they are. For a limited time, listeners can get 20% off your entire order with code ONTexas, all caps, at publicrec.com. That's 20% off when you use the code ONTexas at publicrec.com. You just head to Public Rec, use that code, and you're all set. Oh, and when they ask how you found them, be sure to mention our show. It really helps us out. Find your perfect fit and never compromise on comfort. Again, That's public rec. And again, for A&M basketball or football fans, when you play Texas, they do make them in brown. Or for the A&M basketball team, they make them in brown. And for Oklahoma fans, you can cut them off and use them as jorts if you want. They don't come in jorts, but you can cut them off and make them your own kind of jorts for spring game in Norman.
Jerry.
Oh, goodness. All right, let me tell everyone about Mint Mobile. 2025 is here. Mint Mobile has a resolution for you. Skip the gym, skip the fad diets, skip the BS resolutions that you're going to forget about by next month. Instead, make a resolution to save some serious cash by making the switch to Mint Mobile. And right now, you can get half off of their 3-month unlimited plan. With Mint Mobile, you're going to save money. You're going to have phenomenal service. You're going to have fast speeds. And Mint Mobile is dropping huge savings for the new year by offering any 3-month plan for only $15 a month, even their unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. The best part is you can bring your current phone and your phone number. Switch to Mint, and new customers can get half off an unlimited plan until February 2nd, so you don't have long. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for absolutely free, just go to mintmobile.com/ontexas. That's mintmobile.com/ontexas. A $45 upfront payment is required, which is equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigs on the unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Okay, well,
I like this one. I like this. I got to go back to my NFL pension comment. Yeah, I'm not 5'4". I'm 6 foot, but or 5'11 and 3/4. But I claim 6 foot. But I was just joking. I don't think I would be. Doesn't matter what kind of speed I had. I'm not that kind of athlete. Just not that kind of athlete.
Hi, guys. PFF has released a new mock draft. This just came out here recently. And they have 3 horns in the first round, something we're starting to see a lot more of. They have 11, the 49ers taking Kelvin Banks. At 23, the Packers taking Jahdae Barron. And number 25, Bobby, I know this will make you happy, the Texans taking Matthew Golden.
You know, it's interesting because I think those are good fits for those players. Kelvin Banks at San Francisco would be an excellent fit for what Kyle Shanahan likes to do, Jerry, on offense. Jahdae Barron, great fit for the Packers. Can play a lot of versatility, and they need multiple pieces. Matthew Golden, not going to be asked necessarily to be the number 1 receiver, but could be a big mix when you have a Tank Dell injury out there and you don't know what else is up after Nico Collins. I look and Diggs. I think the good thing about this PFF draft is the idea that it's very it's dependent on team needs as opposed to where the best players are numbering the players. It starts really getting into that. And I think these are all good mixes for Texas players. I'd love to see this transpire.
I want to talk about these 3 guys from a recruiting standpoint real quick, too. So Kelvin Banks is a 5-star tackle, obviously. Jahdae Barron, which is the most difficult thing, I think, in recruiting for college coaches. Jahdae Barron was the high 3-star. Maybe somebody had him ranked as a 4-star, really one of the last couple of 4-stars in America, but a high 3-star guy. The football player coming out of high school was better than the frame or the testing numbers. So he was a tough one for college coaches. Then you had Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden was really interesting to me because this is why going out to the schools is important in our job. And what Bobby did it for years and years is when I went to Klein Payne multiple times because they had Jaden Blue and they had Matthew Golden, and they had a couple other guys as well. They had four D1 guys, they had a couple of young kids too at that time. And when you would talk to the staff there, and it had nothing to do with rankings, had nothing to do with then Jaden Blue leaving the team or whatnot. But I asked early on, maybe the second time I went through there in the spring, I said, who is the best player on this team? And they said Matthew Golden. Not even close. And that's not a knock on Jaden Blue, and Jaden Blue's going to be a drafted player. But it's interesting when you went through there that they said Matthew Golden was easily the best football player on their team. Matthew Golden was the punter. He was a punt return guy. He played wildcat quarterback. He played receiver. He would line up wherever they needed him to go win. It was like Quandre Diggs. Wherever he needed to go help the team win a game, score points, make a play, whatever. He did it. And it's interesting that and Jaden Blue's a very talented player, but it's interesting that high school staff had that one pegged.
The high school coaches, they see him every day. They know what work habits are going to translate. They're not their eyes have regulated to how good an athlete a player is, and then they start looking for traits that are kind of the intangibles. David Amon, Jerry, is a guy that you knew as well as I did, longtime coach down at North Shore High School. And inevitably, you had to go to North Shore every year if you were going to see top players or whatever. And I'll never forget going in there one time, and I'd ask Coach Amon, who are your best players? And he goes, well, I got some really good athletes, but my best player. And one time he told me his best player was a guy named Terrence Melton.
Yeah.
Who was a 6'2", 210-pound defensive end. Okay. And there were 4 or 5 guys that were rated higher than Terrence Melton. Well, Terrence Melton ended up signing with Rice and having a cup of coffee in the league. Those coaches, to your point, if they've been doing it a long time, in particular, the high school coaches, they know what it looks like and what it's going to take to persevere over a long period of time. And you're right about Matthew Golden. That was one of those guys that I remember you coming back from saying that they love Matthew Golden. They think he's got it. So Good for Matthew. And I'm glad that he finished his career at Texas, by the way. That's huge, in my opinion. Love it.
Alfie, I'll see you at a track meet this spring. I'll be there.
Alfie of VC Randall says, Jerry, be on the lookout for my son. He will be running the 100 meters. Jacob Lopez, VC O'Connor Track and Field in San Antonio. Thanks, Alfio. Good to hear from you, buddy. Always.
Speaking of the draft, King Me wants to know, does being in Sark's offense for 3 years benefit viewers more in the draft evaluation or in the NFL?
Man, I thought about this the other day. I think it's a mix. I actually think it can be good and bad in some ways, because if you think about it, Sark schemes people open so well, sometimes that's your only read. And so that is something that you got to think about. I don't know how big a benefit that necessarily is, as I do think that 3 years of starting experience is valuable, because you've seen, look, it was valuable for Texas against Arizona State when he changed the line alignment. That kind of experience is what's valuable. It's not necessarily Sark offense in particular, I would say. I think it's more about the experience of being a starter.
I think the deciding factors in Sark's offense, here's the questions that people are going to ask Sark. Why didn't you throw back shoulder balls? Why didn't you throw the ball vertically outside the numbers more? And he's going to have to answer those questions honestly.
Yeah.
Right.
Why didn't you throw in the middle more?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here with this next question from Brendan. Who is your defensive breakout candidate for next year? Kobe Black and Johnson Rebel are in good positions to take that next step, in Brendan's opinion. Defense will be legit again next year. Could even argue that it'll be better.
Wow, better?
I'm
Jeez, top 5? Better?
I think the pass rush may be better. And where does that take you if you still have great communication in the secondary? I think linebacker is going to be, and this is no knock on the guys that just left. I think it's just natural progression of a program. I think linebacker is going to be the most improved position in the program. And again, I'm not knocking David Benda or Maurice Blackwell. Just think of Ty Anthony Smith as a sophomore. Think of Anthony Hill in year 3. Leonga Lafau in year 3. Brad Spence, I think, is not being talked about nearly enough out of the portal for what he's going to bring. Trey Moore, year 2 as a hybrid. Colin Simmons, year 2 as a hybrid, a guy that can play in coverage but is a great pass rusher. I think, and then Elijah Barnes coming in is already there. Jonathan Cunningham's already there. I think linebacker is going to be the most improved position in this program next year. And Texas is going to be able to rush the passer from more spots, have the ability to, from more positions and from more players than they have in my years covering this. So it'll come down to the 2 portal additions on the interior D line. What kind of step does Alex January make in year 2? And does one of those freshmen come in and end up being a player for you? And then what happens? You still have the same continuity in communication in your secondary. I think it's going to be big because I think the pass rush is going to be better. And that's saying something. My breakout player is Ty Anthony Smith. I've thought about that for a while. I'm going with Ty Anthony Smith.
Look, I got 3 players that really concern me leaving. The intelligence and acumen of Andrew Makuba and Jahdae Barron in the secondary. I don't think you get that from – I mean, Kobe Black can be a better athlete than Jahdae Barron. He's not going to be a better player in year 2. And Andrew Makuba, I don't care. Jordan Johnson-Rappel is going to be a good player for Texas. Jelani McDonald, really talented. Michael Taft is back. They're not Andrew Makuba. And then you add Alfred Collins up the middle. I think he's a little different, Jerry, than any of these guys that they've got coming in from the transfer portal. I have a hard time saying they're going to be better, even if they do have a better pass rush. I'll put that out there. As far as breakout players, Alex January, I think, has got a real shot at being that. I would have put Colton Vosick on that. And then we'll see about corner. Somebody has to step up, whether that's Kobe Black, Warren Roberson, maybe one of the freshmen. What if they move Jalen Gilbo out to corner and all of a sudden it's Jelani McDonald and Wardell Mack at nickel? So it could be Wardell Mack. I think Jelani McDonald's going to have a good year. But he's already kind of on the scene. It's a good question.
And let's go from defense to offense, and we'll use this one to close out the show. This is a super chat from Dawn Gregory. Thank you, Dawn. Says, good morning, fellas. Gearing up for afternoon training with the Lady Roos soccer team here in Sherman. Your thoughts on Wingo as wide receiver number 1? I don't think I've seen enough to say he can be a top 10 receiver next season.
Well, I think he could be a top 10 talent at receiver. I would doubt his production as a top 10 receiver. That Texas just doesn't – they spread the ball around because they have multiple pieces of the puzzle, typically with Sark. But I don't think there's any question he can be a top 10 talent at receiver. As a matter of fact, I would bet he is. Now, he may not be Jeremiah Smith. He may not be who else? Jerry Eaton in that category. Ryan Williams would be in that category. But I think that he absolutely could be a top 10 talent, Don. I said this to someone the other day. I hope like nobody's business, Arch Manning, DeAndre Moore, and Ryan Wingo, those 3 guys are inseparable for the next 6 months. They need to be working every day. If Wingo needs to go down there and live in New Orleans in the off season, if Arch goes down there a couple weeks, those 3 need to really develop a rapport. Because if they do, Texas is going to be that much more difficult to stop this season. I think he's got the talent, though, Don, to be top 10. No doubt in my mind on that.
Hey, I want to answer. Somebody said something in the chat earlier. I couldn't remember the basketball player from Winsboro who was a great player, Stacy Stevens at Winsboro, Texas. She was a great player. So thank you for reminding me who that was. TJ said, TJ asked about the freshman at CE King. Yeah, they have a freshman at CE King that they think is going to run in the high 10 threes.
Goodness.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football. We want to thank Cure, Joy Mode, Public Rec, and Mint Mobile all for sponsoring today's show. Thank you all for tuning in. The great questions, the super chats. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell so you're notified anytime that we go live or post content. And speaking of going live and posting content, what do you got, Bobby, later today?
Recruiting breakdown. Jerry and CJ going to be talking a little Longhorn football recruiting. Then we've got the live stream tonight at 7. CJ's down at the Senior Bowl in Mobile right now. Baron Sorrell already working out. He's also talking to some NFL execs, et cetera, getting a little scoop on the draft for us. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then obviously we'll also have a lot of stuff here on TexasFootball.com. Make sure you get in on the discussion and make sure you take advantage of this last-minute deal. It ends tonight. Make sure you use promo code HOWE, HOWE, press the apply the code, and then you'll get on TexasFootball.com a subscription for just $39.95 a year. That's HOWE. Use that code HOWE, HOWE, $39.95 a year at on TexasFootball.com. That's $20 off a regular subscription price.
Can't beat that. All right, well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.